afternoon, everyone. When I started my career over 20 years ago now, I wanted to be a manager. I looked at the people within my workplace that were most senior and had the car park and the nice car and the nice clothes, and they were all managers. They all had people under them who basically did what they said they had to do. And whilst I wasn't so much into the power element, I could see that these were the successful ones. These people that had staff were the ones that were doing well. And you know what? It didn't actually look very hard. You know, back in the day, we were all pretty scared of our bosses because if we didn't do what they said, they would fire us. Now, it's a different workplace landscape today, which is a whole nother topic. But for me, starting in my career, being a manager was a way to progress. It wasn't a skill, it wasn't a craft, it wasn't something that you would go and learn about. It was more of a bonus or a reward if you were really good at your job. So I knew that if I was the best recruiter or if I was the best HR strategist, then I would progress and have my own team. And that was exactly where I was headed. That's what I wanted. But I really had no idea what that meant or what it would entail. I didn't understand the responsibility that comes with managing others and how basically it's a full-time job whilst you still have to do your normal job. Am I right? Yeah. I found that if I was to be successful, the only way to have been successful is to say that I had staff under me. So I want to ask you guys a question with your clickers. I want to know here who wanted to be a manager. So I've got a couple of options for you. Who always wanted to be a manager? Are you the one that says, me, for as long as I can remember, I wanted to manage people? Or perhaps you were interested, but it wasn't the key driver of your career. Maybe you just wanted to become a manager because you knew it would come with power or status or money. Perhaps you never wanted to be a manager, or perhaps you were like me. You thought you did until you became one. So you have 10 seconds. I'm really interested to see what the room's made up of. Please choose. Right. So nobody here, well, only 3% really want to do it for money, power or status. Oh, we've got a good ethical room here of people. That's really interesting. And but what I look at here is that I would expect that we've got a room of people who have spent time on developing their leadership and management skills because it's something you wanted in your career. What I've learnt over time for myself is that I'm not an ideal manager. But I do like to lead. I like to consider myself as a leader. And when I realised that they are two different things, and as I progressed in my career as a business owner and understood that I could actually be a leader and not have to be a manager, I was really happy about that because I knew that I could play in my area of strength. However, what I've realised is that being a leader has some pretty serious traps attached to it that I don't think that we talk about enough, and I don't think it's something, these traps are things that we learn in our management courses or leadership training that we do. So today I want to share with you 3 insights that I have found in my career from myself and the clients that I work with that I think every leader must be aware of and manage within themselves. Because I believe if we don't manage these things, it will significantly impact the engagement and the culture and the performance of our business and not in a good way. So we all know that everyone is a leader. Regardless of title, everyone is a leader because everybody influences somebody. However, in your role or our role, we specifically play a leadership role. So to the people who report to us, perhaps to our broader colleagues, especially if we are senior practitioners or experts in a particular area of our industry, and also to our clients and our customers. So let's call those people our stakeholders. So we are leading and influencing our stakeholders. So what does that really mean? Well, this is what it means. And it sounds creepy, but a challenge most leaders have but forget is that we are constantly being watched. Just like for those of us who have children, they're not just watching us, they're actually learning from us. They're always looking at what we're doing. They're watching everything we do. Our body language, the way we talk on the phone, the way we enter a room, the way we sit in a meeting, what we say when we get off the phone from a client. Our stakeholders are watching our leadership and they're assessing it and they're learning from it. So what we do is either making our stakeholders inspired and giving them great habits, or it's doing the opposite. It's disengaging them and it's giving them really bad habits. So I ask, how do you want to be seen? How would you like to be described? What influence do you want to have on those who've worked alongside of you? What would you like them to say about you long after they have finished working with you? So I invite you to just take a moment and I want you to write down 3 words. The 3 words that you would like to be described as or seen as a leader. I'll give you a few minutes to think about that. What you would like people to say about you as a leader. 3 words. Okay, now I want you to write down the 3 words that you think people would actually say about you right now. How would they describe you today? If I was going to go into your workplace and ask your staff, what are the 3 words do you think that they would say? Okay, you might need to spend some time at home thinking about this some more, but by looking at those words, you now know whether you have some homework to do. And I, for one, always have homework to be a better leader. I'm always striving to meet those words. Sometimes I get closer than others, but perhaps your homework could be to go and ask those stakeholders and see what those 3 words are and how much work you have to do. So this is the sign you will see when you enter the What's Next office. Please take responsibility for the energy you bring into this space. Now, there is a reason why we display this sign. It's because energy is contagious. Your energy impacts others and it also influences others. And as leaders, we must take responsibility for that energy. It's the little things. It's the sigh. It's the running late to a meeting or asking for 5 more minutes. I'll be there in a minute, you guys get started. It's the talk of being stressed or busy. Oh, I'll get to it, I'm just really busy right now. It's being disorganised, having a disorganised compendium or a disorganised notebook or a pen that doesn't work or a desk that's overflowing. We can't see you when you sit behind it. It's sloppy presentation. All of these things are things that people are looking at and assessing your leadership. Now, we can feel this way. It's absolutely fine. We can feel stressed at times. We can get disorganised. We can get completely over it. There is absolutely no shame in that. But as leaders, we need discipline to know the right forum to share and expose that. Perhaps it's your business partners, perhaps it's your coach, but it's certainly not in front of those that you are hoping to positively influence. So our energy and behaviour are contagious. So would you want your energy to be caught by others? I'd like you to write down that question now to reflect on that later. Would you want your energy to be caught by others? Would you want to hang out with you on a bad day, even on a good day? Okay, I have another question for you to use your clicker. When asked how you are, how are you? How many times have you told at least one person this week that you are busy? There's two options. One, I've told someone I'm busy or something similar like stress or frantic or full on or out of control, or you've not told anyone that you're busy or something similar. Oh, excellent. Okay. I expected that number 2 to be higher, but I wouldn't have believed it. Because I think nearly every person I've interacted with this week, including my eldest son, told me how busy they are. It's one of those things we say. So I have found that when reviewing people at a senior level, particularly at What's Next and also clients over the years, that there has constantly been 2 traps that we get caught in. And these 2 traps are the I'm so busy trap and the I can do that trap. And the interesting thing about these traps that we get caught in is that they're not set by someone else. So it's not our chairman of the board, it's not our clients, it's not a CEO if you're not the CEO that's setting them. We actually set these traps ourselves. We set them and then we get caught in them. Why we get caught is because quite simply, we are the helpless little mouse who couldn't control temptation. Because ultimately to be so busy and say, I can do that, is actually a temptation. It gives us a reward. The reward of feeling important, of feeling necessary and worthy, perhaps of feeling powerful and smart, maybe admired. Falling into these traps is something that we choose because they actually give us a reward, even though we behave as if this busyness is being done to us. We are making ourselves busy because it makes us feel good about ourselves. It is much easier to say yes than it is to say no. It's easy to fall into these traps and then complain about how hard we have it. But leadership is not for the ones who want it easy, because leadership is hard. Leadership is in fact about self-management and in turn temptation management. It's about discipline. It takes discipline to be productive rather than busy. Discipline to plan, to delegate, to manage our emotions in times of stress, to leave our bad stuff at the door. It takes discipline to not buy into the drama that surrounds us, to take responsibility and be accountable, to manage our stress, to ask for help. It takes discipline to be a positive influence to those around us, which is why some of us are just not so good at it. Leadership is hard not because of how much work goes into managing people. It's hard because of how much work we need to put into managing ourselves, because it starts with us. So I've made a clicker question for this because I'm actually quite interested to know. I love superheroes, but it's only been a recent love, and it's not because I have young children. I listen to a lot of podcasts by very influential business people and entrepreneurs, and I'm intrigued at the moment of the theme around the discussion of superheroes and how as business leaders and entrepreneurs we can learn from superheroes. It seems to be the thing at the moment. I find it very interesting. So I was just curious to know. I'm only giving you 5 options. You have to choose one. But I would like to know, who is your favourite superhero? You've got 10 seconds. Looks like people know exactly Who? Wow. Well, Wonder Woman just won because I didn't get to vote. Interesting. I believe that we all have a tendency of trying to be the hero, even becoming addicted to being the hero, the one who saves the day, the one who fixes the problems, the one we can't live without, the one that everyone needs. Heroes are busy people. They are saving the day all over the place. There's no time to stop when you're a hero. People need things fixed, people need saving, no one else can do it. Heroes can't ever stop. Because if they did, that would be really bad for the people who need them. Or would it? Could it actually be more bad for the hero? Maybe not in the movies and the comics, but most definitely in the workplace. Us being a superhero at work is not a good thing. Being the one who takes it all on is not the hero that we want our leaders to be. My insight too for you is the hero is not to be celebrated. I would even go as far to say that the hero in the workplace is selfish. The hero is actually working for them, not the stakeholder. The addiction that they have to feel needed and powerful, unique, super, makes it about them. The reward they're getting is being the hero, yet if we are truly a great leader, we make our stakeholders the hero. I've seen this consistently in businesses, and this is hard to admit. People masking themselves as a hero that cannot stop, instead of seeing the situation as self-created to receive internal rewards. I want to repeat that. People masking themselves as the hero that can't stop, can't go on vacation, everything will fall apart if I'm not here, I better do it, no one's going to do it as well as me. This stress and need that everyone has of them is self-created because it gives them an internal reward. And true leaders aren't about internal rewards. They're about rewarding others. Great leaders are not great because of their power, but because of their ability to empower others. Now, this is not to say that we shouldn't be busy or have a lot on. We're at work. We want to be busy. We want our businesses to be pumping, otherwise we'd be in trouble. But are we so busy or are we giving into a temptation to feel important and needed and like a hero? And that's the question I think that we as leaders need to constantly ask ourselves. So I want you to write down the question, am I being a hero for my own internal rewards? Now, the defensiveness of our natural way of being will be, that's not me. I wouldn't do that. I'm not playing the hero. So I'm asking you to really step into a place of truth with yourself. Do you display those qualities at times? I have seen it in every workplace that I have ever walked in. I've seen it in myself at times. I've seen it in my most senior people that have been my best performers. I've also seen it in my worst. It's about the ability to see when we are moving from rewarding others to focusing on rewarding ourselves. It's a very fine line. Which leads me to my final insight that I want to share with you today, which is as leaders, we have a fear. And it's a fear that is paralysing our growth personally and also the growth of our business. So what are we afraid of? We're afraid of white space. Does it scare you, that white screen? So I didn't do any work on that. This is the space where there's no meetings or there's no on-the-tools work. This is the space in your calendar or your life that doesn't have anything allocated against it. Why are we scared of having white space? Because it looks like we have nothing to do. No one needs us. And if we have nothing to do and no one needs us, What is our value? Where is our worthiness coming from? But owning this space actually creates our true value as leaders, because this is the space for us to think, for us to chat, for us to walk past an employee and actually hear the response when we ask them how they are and continue on a conversation if it goes that way. This is the space where we can ideate, where, you know, when you have that idea in the middle of the night but then you have no time to really nut it out, put it on a whiteboard and really think about whether it's worth pursuing or not. It's a time where you can workshop something. It's a time to remember why you do what you do and reconnect to your mission. It's a time to care about others, because when we don't have any white space and we're rushing around, how much care are we giving to others? And it's our time to breathe, take a moment, allow ourselves to make a good decision. This is the space where true masters of their craft spend time in. This is a space that great leaders know is an absolute priority over everything else. This is a space they hold because they know what's important and what's not. And they know that because they have that space. In my business, looking at people in senior levels over the years, a lot of the time that I have seen no white space has actually been as a result of them not being a master of their craft. They have been rushing to show their worth rather than taking the time to give value. They're rushing around to show their worth rather than taking the time to give value to our clients or their peers. But they think they're important and they're doing a wonderful job and they're the hero. But actually, what they're putting out there is quite the opposite. So how can we be the best leader and master of our craft when we allow no time to be present in meetings because we've just rushed from the last one and now we're getting ready to rush out for the next one? How can we take time? If we don't take time, how can we prepare and make sure that we're adding value to our meetings? How can we think properly? How can we do proper research on our customers? How can we ask more questions to find out more? How can we learn if we don't have this time? How can we remember the ultimate vision of what we're really trying to do here and stop doing the stuff that doesn't matter? And you know what happens eventually when you don't have white space to do these things? We get caught. We get caught out by our stakeholders that we aren't the true master of our crafts. We're not true leaders. We don't know how to delegate. We don't know how to lead ourselves and others. We don't have self-awareness. We don't care. They soon see that we don't know what to say no to. We don't know what's important. Because how could we? We've rushed. Being committed to white space is not easy. I have spent years trying to get my team and my clients to commit to white space. And it works, and some will do it for a couple of weeks, a couple of months, even a couple of years. But most of the time, it gets filled in with other, urgent things. It gets overlooked. It's a constant discipline to commit to your white space, just like you might commit to your exercise regime or commit to your meeting with your clients. However, I know the ones who do it. I can tell. I see it in the quality of their work and I see it in their attitude to life. And they are the ones that I want to work with. They're the ones I want to do business with. They're the ones I want to learn from. I can see it when I meet people in this room who take time for that white space. Space, simply marking out a couple of hours a week to white space is a great start, and you just don't fill it with anything. Don't fill it with anything and just see. It's a great way to start to overcome the fear of having time to be in your role rather than doing your role. I think space to be is critical specifically for leaders. Space to be in your role rather than just doing your role. So these are the 3 insights that we as leaders need to understand and manage. Everyone is watching you. Everyone is watching us. What we need to do as leaders is hard. It's way easier to say yes than it is to say no. It's so much easier to be the one that's rushing around, to be seen. We don't want to be seen as the one who is rushing from one yes to another. This is not about being lazy. It's not about not working hard. This is about working on the right things and having the space to work out what those things are. It's about having the right energy, because your energy is contagious and it allows you to do more of the good stuff, develop more leaders, help more stakeholders. Because if you really want to be a master, a leader, leave a legacy, be a positive influence, and I think you need to do more, not less, but you need to create the space to make sure that that more is what really matters. So before I close, I just want to end with a very quick story about a man named Warren Rustan. I don't know if many of you know him. He's an incredible human being who I'm very lucky to have spent a bit of time with. He's an entrepreneur. He served, I think, 4 US presidents. He's been the CEO and chairman of 17 companies and on the board of over 50 public, private and not-for-profit organisations. He also has 7 kids. I think it's 7. And he speaks a lot on leadership, and I really strongly recommend that you follow him. He's the kind of person that has a lot going on. A lot. Yet every time I've been in the same space as him, I've felt like he has nothing to do other than be in that space with me right at that moment. I've always felt calm and that we have all the time in the world, which he clearly wouldn't. Anyway, he shared with me a story about his time working in the White House, and he said not once did he hear anyone in the White House talk about being busy. I think like they would be busy people. I'm pretty sure they would be. And he said that if he ever sees someone who's over the top busy, rushing around, so much stuff to do, we've got all this stuff on, it's a signal to him of someone who's not performing, someone who most likely doesn't have the capabilities to do their job. He sees it as not a badge of honour, but rather a red flag. So I ask you one final question. What is your behaviour telling your key stakeholders, and is it the message that you want to send? Thank you.